Welcome to another episode of Charros y Clásicos, a Bosque Strings podcast. This is a special episode featuring a special guest. I'm your host, Miguel Gutierrez, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Joel Ozuna.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Our next guest is a native from Edinburgh, Texas. She is a classically trained pianist. She's also the founder of the UTRGV Mariachi program. Please welcome Dr. Dalia Guerra.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's so wonderful to see both of you again.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Thank you for coming in to do this interview.
My pleasure.
This month we decided to feature women in music, and you're like the first person I thought of. One of the first women that I thought about, since you're an inspiration, a role model to me. So thanks for being in here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about what's going on. What's current events you're up to, or what are you working on right now?
Okay, well, right now is Festiva week, and we started Friday evening at the Edinburgh Library with at least 1,000 people that came out with children, lots and lots of children, authors, artists, food trucks. It was just a big celebration, and the goal was to celebrate the top readers. So we selected the school districts with the highest scores in reading. And that evening, we honored Canterbury Elementary and Bryan Elementary in Mission and some of the FAR schools as well. So it was a beautiful evening. And then yesterday, we had a literacy symposium, close to 100 people at the ballroom with a panel of speakers, a very distinguished panel, with our new dean, Dr. Jeffrey Ward, and a local poet, Daniel Garcia, and he is a Macallan Poet Laureate, Daniel Garcia Ordaz, and he was on the panel, and then Letty Leija from Edinburgh Library, and then Caitlin Renteria, a young author also from the area. It was a fabulous panel. We talked about transforming our world through arts and literacy, which is the theme of Festiva this year, and nonprofits, librarians, teachers, literacy providers. Those were the type of people in attendance. It was a great day yesterday. So 2 great events to kick off Festiva. And then next week, we have a whole series of events, mostly showcasing our own faculty and students, showcasing our faculty research. There's quite a variety of different presentations. And the goal is to promote literacy and to celebrate the cultural arts in our community. And we send authors to schools. We have a program called the Reading Rockstars with the Texas Book Festival. We're sending 8 authors out to 6 public schools. Each child gets a free book signed by the author, and the author reads the book to the children. It's a beautiful program, and it's been going on since the very beginning of Festiva, almost 17 years. And so it's all about books and celebrating our culture, our heritage, the research that our community is involved with. We have the Museum of South Texas History participating as well. They have some very, very interesting presentations. One example is the Letters of Freddy Gonzalez, and they do a study, and they work with the Edinburgh schools in creative writing, referring to those letters. It's a really beautiful presentation. And then other presentations from the museum and just a variety of different poets that are coming. There's a poet named Andrea Sanderson, who's being brought to campus by Creative Writing Program. And another poet, Grace Munoz. She's a storyteller, biographer. So these types of events happening all week. Special guests, distinguished guests, poets, authors, musicians, because we end the week with Mariachi Sol de Mexico and our wonderful workshop, competition, and a great concert on Saturday evening at 7:30 in the evening at the PAC.
Wow, that's great. You kind of already answered my next question, but I was going to ask, what exactly is Festiva? Because a lot of the kids, they hear Festiva and they think mariachi competition, mariachi concert, but there's much more to it than that, right?
Absolutely.
Could you tell us more in depth of what it is and how mariachi came involved in Festiva?
Okay. Well, it is the Festival of International Books and Arts. it actually was born in 2006 in the music area as a complement to HESTEC. Because if you remember HESTEC was all about the STEM fields, all about science and technology, engineering. And I wanted to throw in the arts, especially the cultural arts. So spoke to administration, and we started Festiva. And the first year was strictly music, and it was a music festival and a competition and a concert. That was way back, over 17 years ago. And then, so throughout the years, every year, we put on this festival that we call Festiva. And as I mentioned, we bring in guest speakers and authors and musicians, and we bring the world to the community and engage our community, unite our community through the university and on our campus and off our campus as well, because Festiva events take place throughout the Rio Grande Valley. I mentioned the public schools and other events in Brownsville as well, of course, because our university extends to Brownsville. So that's what Festiva is. Every year there's a different theme. This year happened to be transforming our world through arts and literacy. But it is a push and a promotion of early childhood literacy, spreading the word that our children must be exposed to books, and families, parents must read to their children because it makes such an impact in their lives. So that's our biggest mission. Our biggest message through Festiva: read to your children, be sure that their literacy skills are where they should be, and that will impact the rest of their lives. And then how did mariachi come in? Well, of course, there's going to be mariachi. and as I mentioned, the very first year, we threw in a mariachi festival, and every year after that. And I believe that one of the reasons that the level of musicianship has just skyrocketed in the Valley is because we attend festivals, not just ours, but across the nation. Albuquerque, San Antonio, and other festivals. The Tucson, we went several years. So Jose Hernandez has one in California. So these festivals are where the students really get to engage with each other and learn new music and learn best practices and improve their playing. So that's our goal with our Festiva Mariachi Festival, to bring our local students onto the campus, bring the best teachers, and just immerse these kids in mariachi music for a couple of days, and just bring them the best instruction that there is out there. Strangely enough, the pandemic didn't stop us. It was actually one of our best festivals because it was virtual and we could bring in everybody. So I brought in the directors of the major mariachis, from Mariachi Vargas, Sol de Mexico, Cobre, Camperos. We brought in all the directors and different members of those mariachis to teach our Valley students, and it was wonderful. And we did have people from all over the U.S., not just locally. So the Mariachi Festival, the mission is to bring the best instruction, expose our students to the best there is in mariachi music, raise our level of musicianship, our expectations. This is a beautiful music, but we want it to be the top of the line musically as well. So yes, it's an oral tradition. It's what we do to celebrate our culture. But the philosophy that we've had at university, at UTPA and now UTRGV, is to have the best level of musicianship and instruction possible. And that's what we hope we provide every year. And 17 years later, incredible amount of talent in the Valley. And you see it. UIL yesterday, it was some of the most, and Friday, incredible performances from groups all over Texas, but certainly proud of our groups from South Texas who played really, really well.
And a lot of those groups will be performing at Festiva, correct?
That's what's so much fun. They're ready. They're ready to go. So they played it at UIL, and now they get another shot at it here at Festiva. And I like to say that it's not about the competition. It's not about who's gonna play the best at that moment. It's about living together, the camaraderie between schools and groups. And we're a big family. It's not just about competing with each other. It's conviviendo. We're just enjoying the time that we have together and the students to meet each other. And yes, we're going to present some workshops that we hope will make an impact. And with our theme of transforming our world, that's what the goal is this year, to bring good instruction and just add to what's already wonderful in our schools.
Joel Joel can probably agree with me, but Festiva is a ground of inspiration for so many people. You know, we've seen, I've been part of that movement too, where it inspires us to be better and be good, just exactly what you're saying. But speaking of inspiration, what inspired you to become who you are today?
Oh, my
Can you
goodness.
tell us about your background a little bit?
Okay, that's a long story because I'm very old. I started as a pianist, and I started taking piano very young in my life. And my father encouraged me and my mother as well to study classical piano. And I studied with a local piano teacher, Yolanda Hinojosa, who had a large studio, and all of the pianists in Edinburgh studied with Yolanda Hinojosa. And so loved playing the piano, but at the same time, really enjoyed the music of our culture. And we visited Mexico yearly. My parents took us to Mexico, to the Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City, the folklorico, the mariachi music, and Monterrey. We would visit the mariachis out at the restaurants. So it was always a part of who I am as well. And so throughout the years, enjoyed both styles of music, and graduated with a Bachelor of Music. Actually, back then, it was a Bachelor of Arts from Pan American University. And then I went to SMU, and I have a master's in piano and in piano pedagogy. Master of Music from Southern Methodist University. And I came to the university and started teaching piano and mostly piano and some music appreciation. And then I started performing with a ballet folklorico. That was great fun. I loved the atmosphere, the environment of all of the students enjoying this music, this beautiful music of Mexico. And I actually started performing with them. I started playing piano on the Spanish music portion. So that was great fun. And Frank and Mary Munoz, great teachers, would tell me, we need a mariachi. Why don't you form a mariachi? And so classical pianist, what business does she have forming a mariachi? But that I jumped in with both feet, spoke to our president of the university at the time, was Miguel Nevarez. He thought it was awesome. And he was so supportive. He was just fabulous. So little by little, I purchased instruments. I recruited kids. There was a couple, actually 2 or 3 programs already in existence. La Jolla was first in 82. Edinburgh and McAllen started, I think, in 88. And I started in 89. So got together with those programs that were already in existence. La Jolla was super supportive. I borrowed music. I listened to recordings. McAllen as well. There was a young lady there who was doing really well. I think her name was Terry Castro. But my best friend, Ciro Trevino, was starting the program in Edinburgh. So, and there it went. I started in 1989 and just trying to learn myself. And I picked a topic for my dissertation because I left for a year to the University of Oklahoma to study piano. And the topic that I picked for my dissertation was Manuel Ponce, because he was a great promoter of the canción in Mexico. As a matter of fact, he cataloged all the canciones by going around the rural countryside and recording. So he was my hero, and he was a fabulous pianist and wrote some beautiful piano music. So he was my inspiration, and I was trying to follow along that path of merging classical with folk music. And so I studied the history of all of the music and where it came from in Mexico, and started the group in 1989. And, I was super green, and we did our best we could read and just about whatever I could get my hands on, teaching the students to read. However, that mariachi style and flair really didn't come until Francisco Alluera joined as co-director, and being a mariachi himself, of course, he had that knowledge of the style, and from there, when did he come? I think we never agree on when he came.
I was going to ask, what year did he join with you?
We never agree. I don't remember, but I became chair in 1997, I believe, or 1996. So when I became chair, he took on more and more responsibilities. He was a student, and then he graduated with a degree in Spanish and went on to finish a master's in Spanish, but he also did a minor master's in music. So then he graduated, and then he could join its faculty. So that was great because it added a whole new element to our ability to create a good program.
So for about like 9 years, it was just you, right?
It was me for quite a while, and I would bring in people, and that was my goal to learn myself and to bring in other mariachis. You remember Severo, who now he was a teacher. I believe he's retired. He was one of my first members of the group, so he knew what he was doing. So that's what I would do. I would bring in people that were already playing. My first guitarrón player was Ricky from La Jolla. I don't quite remember his last name.
No, Garcia.
Ricky Garcia. If you're listening, hi, Ricky. But yes, brought in some elements that were already mariachi.
That were seasoned already.
So that was great fun. And as we developed the group, started going to workshops, as I mentioned. That was a big boost. Started going to Cynthia's workshops in Cynthia Munoz in San Antonio and other workshops. And then started bringing in, as I mentioned, in 2006, our first festival. And that was Mariachi Sol de Mexico. We actually brought Jose in before that, several years before that.
I was going to say, because I remember being a sophomore in high school. And that was in summer of 2003. And, our teacher said, hey, there's this thing going on at the university for a week or for a weekend or something like that. And a bunch of us went. There was other kids, too, from other schools.
Exactly.
And that's when I first knew of Mariachi Sol de Mexico.
That's right. That's exactly
And they
right.
had clinics, I think.
We had some clinics, and we were all learning, trying to learn at the same time. We went to the Encuentro. Wish I could tell you what year. But it was quite an experience to see mariachis in Guadalajara from all over the world. That was just mind-blowing. Very good workshops. And so we were inspired quite a bit. That was not your year then.
No.
Emilio was there that year, and I think Myra. And just there's been so many of you throughout the years that I lose track of the years. But as I mentioned, we built this huge family of mariachi musicians, some classical, many classical, who are now teaching, have degrees or not, just their expertise is at a very high level, and are now teaching all of the mariachi programs in South Texas and in other places as well.
So in my opinion, I think the program really was projected once you became dean at the university. Would you
That's a
agree
good
with that?
point. Yes, because then I had more resources to promote the group, and invitations started pouring in. We had some really remarkable opportunities. We performed at the Houston Rodeo. I'm sure you might have been there for one of those, but that opportunity was incredible because a lot of people go to that event, and we won first place so many years. So at one of those performances, there was someone from the Houston Grand Opera that was listening to Mariachi Aztlan. And so we were invited to premiere the first mariachi opera.
Yeah.
That was 2010. And we premiered it with Mariachi Vargas, in Houston with the Houston Grand Opera. And what an opportunity that was. That was just amazing. Great opportunity. We performed the version where we were on stage interacting with the opera
with the cast,
singers,
right?
With the cast. Vargas performed on the on-stage version. So it was fabulous. Just an amazing opportunity. And then we were invited to the Smithsonian Folklife Festival in 2012. That was an amazing opportunity For 2 weeks, we were out in Washington, D.C., rather warm. It was July, and experienced July 4th at the Capitol under the stars with all the fireworks that happened on 4th of July. And that was an amazing experience as well. But then the Chicago Lyric Opera picked up the opera Cruzar la Cara de la Luna, and we premiered it with them and Vargas on 2012. In the year 2012.
Wasn't that 13? Because that's the year I joined you.
We did it possibly again.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several years that then there was another opera.
Yes.
The second mariachi opera that we premiered. Forgot the name. Do you remember the name?
It's at the tip of my tongue, but yeah, I think that was 2015.
Something like that.
I want to say.
Yes. So all of these opportunities, the level of musicianship really getting better and better, rising to the occasion because we have to rise to the occasion.
Right.
And then we played for Obama in 2012, 2010, we played for President Obama at the White House. Another fabulous opportunity that the students, I don't think, will ever forget. There's many of our mariachi directors were at that performance and just made a huge impact on all of the students. But throughout the years, I think one of the most important developments is that we created a degree program. And we offer now, I think we're on our third year. It's fairly new, still developing. But it's nationally accredited by the National Association of Schools of Music. It's a Bachelor of Music Education with a mariachi concentration. Very unique in the nation. I believe it's only accredited by NASM in the nation. There's other programs. I'm not saying there's not other mariachi degrees, but this one's quite unique and it is accredited at this national level. So we're very excited because we have at least 35 mariachi majors now.
Oh, wow.
And 10 or more, maybe 10 or 15 mariachi minors. So that, again, it's making a huge impact, I believe, on the level of musicianship and just the fact that their attention is more focused on mariachi. These students sometimes are torn in different directions, and it's hard for them to meet all of their obligations. So it just focuses them a little bit more. Plus, we offer courses. Francisco Loera has developed several courses. Pedagogy, mariachi pedagogy, how to teach mariachi. We co-taught that class, and now he's teaching a class on mariachi arranging. We're bringing in some guest teachers as well, and mariachi style and interpretation was another course that was offered during the pandemic. So, of course, they study the instruments of the mariachi and all the different other courses that are required, music history, music theory. And so well-rounded musicians, but with a focus in mariachi.
I think another perspective of what Mariachi Aztlan has become, past everything that we've talked about, is the teaching aspect. The group has been invited to many festivals now to do the teaching of the clinics for the children, but it also has gotten a lot of exposure to the pro groups because now you see past members in those groups.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So I think that's just another level that we graduated to. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Addressing your first point of teaching at different workshops. Usually when we perform in different parts of the country, there's a workshop attached. So I think of all the students that are being impacted through our program, and that's one of the most gratifying things to me. Because very often we're in perhaps a low-income area of the city. We did some of the areas of Chicago where the students didn't have the wherewithal to maybe attend concerts or to study private lessons and that sort of thing. So for us to be able to give workshops at these areas has been very, very rewarding. Absolutely. And then many of the times that we perform, we do open for these professional groups and get to play side by side. And that is always a learning experience and a great opportunity. And it's developed to the point where we are a recruiting ground for these mariachis, professional mariachis. Right now, we have, at the moment, there's 2 members of Mariachi Los Camperos that are Aztlan, Ricky Munguia,
Ricky, yeah.
and Nathan Garcia. So proud of them both. Love them so much. And to see them up on stage with Mariachi Los Camperos is just, every time I see them, I feel so warm and happy and delighted to see them on stage with Los Camperos. Mariachi Sol de Mexico also has 2 former Aztlan. We have Pepe.
Yeah,
Perez, who, beautiful voice and vihuela player, very outstanding talent. And Carlos Toledo, who was with us as well, amazing voice and trumpet player who's now with Mariachi Sol de Mexico. So very excited to see these former students now with these main groups. And I believe there may be some more additions soon, but it's not my place to tell. but yes, we do have quite a few members in these groups.
What would you say is the next step for Mariachi Aztlan? Is there a next step?
Well, yes, we want to keep developing the degree program, just tweaking it and making it, just fixing some areas that might need attention. And we need more faculty. We need more staff. And we've requested it, and that's something that we're pushing for. We need instruction and violin and trumpet, and hope that we can find another person to join us. 2 people would be better. And see who's out there with at least a master's, because that's what's required. And see who can come and join our program and help us and build it some more. 35 majors, I can see it doubling in no time. We get calls constantly. We have kids that we see, I want to come to your university. So I don't see an end. I just see it growing and adding, and just growing and adding.
Endless possibilities.
Endless possibilities. That's right. So we mentioned that working with professional groups. One of our thrills this past year, the fall actually, was touring the country with Aida Cuevas.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Tell us about that.
How did
that come to be?
Amazing opportunity. We've invited her a couple of years to perform at our campus. And when she comes, we accompany her, learn her music. But it's been, half a show, or 20 to 30 minutes of a show. And she's a delight, and her son is a delight. We've learned a lot from her. Boy, you want to learn about style and diction and interpretation of the lyrics and of the feeling of that music. You study Aida Cuevas' performances. And so talk about taking our group to another level, because just being with her, her grace and her style, and she's brilliant and beautiful on stage. So this past fall, she asked us to go on tour. And Yo Creo Que Es Tiempo was the name of the tour. And Mariachi Aztlan performed all over the United States. I believe there was 20 concerts, major venues, huge venues. And it was quite an adventure for the students who went. It was challenging as well to juggle classes, many online courses, and keep up with their classes and also take this tour. It was a lot of touring, a lot of traveling, but it was amazing, an amazing opportunity. So the tour ended in Brownsville and in Edinburgh. We had a concert in Brownsville, which was, I think, the community was very delighted. And then the final concert was in Edinburgh. And it was fabulous because it was with Mariachi Aztlan and her, and all of the bells and whistles, the lighting and the staging, and again, at an incredibly high level of musicianship. Our students just rose to the occasion. She was our teacher, basically, and her son is brilliant with everything. He's the one who runs it all. And it was just a real pleasure to work with both of them. And her musicians, she brings a percussionist who's fabulous, and a pianist as well, who's fabulous. And David Moreno played trumpet with us. It was wonderful, and added another element. So that's our latest, this past fall, touring with Aida Cuevas.
Do you see the group doing future tours with other artists?
I would hope so. I should hope so. And they know we're here, and we're always willing to work with them and just share our talented students.
And now, speaking of more future events, we were talking earlier about Nuestra Cultura.
Oh, yes.
that's also connected with Festiva, right?
It's they're friends. They're good friends. They're in Brownsville. It's a nonprofit called Nuestra Cultura Mariachi Association, and they have an event in April 21st and 22nd, and they bring Mariachi Los Camperos, another wonderful opportunity. So it's pretty amazing that in the spring alone, we would have had Mariachi Sol de Mexico and Mariachi Los Camperos available to our students in the Valley. So the workshop, I'm going to start accepting the registrations real soon. Just kind of let me get past Festiva, this one, and then we will register everyone. And that festival is patterned after last year's. There'll be workshops on Friday at the TSC Fine Arts Center in Brownsville and at the Jacob Brown with competition, vocal competition on Friday, and a group competition on Saturday, and a grand concert Saturday evening.
Wow, that's a lot happening this semester.
There's a
alone.
lot happening. Yes, but
Yeah.
wonderful opportunities for the Rio Grande Valley and for the state, even the nation, because mariachi students come from all over to both events. So I'm excited about working with them, and Timmy Ramirez is the president of the group and hard worker, and it's going to be a great event, great occasion.
So another thing that I've been asked, or I've heard people talking, people are waiting for your next recording. What about that?
That's another whole story. That's another whole story, because during the pandemic, we've had to find ways to create and to perform, and the students needed some sort of inspiration. So we started recording them at their homes, very primitive recordings, and then putting them together. That was the first step. And then purchased a lot of equipment. Francisco did his homework. I don't know how he absorbed it all, but he learned so much, and he's become so good at recording. And we have compiled our own little recording studio, and we're starting our own CD,
Oh, wow.
and having our students. As soon as we get past Festiva, we'll really immerse everyone in this recording and try to produce it ourselves. And we'll have some help, of course, and get some input from excellence at other levels, that people that know recordings and that sort of thing. But we're looking forward to that recording. And as I said, learning a lot about the process. Francisco has experimented and spent hours and hours and hours. We put out some nice little recordings that are out there right now during the pandemic and post-pandemic as well. We have just several. If you look out Mariachi Aztlan, look it up. It used to be Patron of the Arts, and now we have it on. Now we're calling our series UTRGV Arts, and that's with a new dean. He created a new series that includes all the college, which is fabulous. Our department, creative writing, dance, and music, now are under this umbrella of UTRGV Arts. So if you want to find recordings or any performances, they're going to be under that umbrella. But we still have recordings out on Patron of the Arts. So check some of those virtual events or recordings and videos. We did some videos as well.
Yeah, I think during pandemic, I saw, I think for Dia de los Muertos,
We
you
did.
did one. Like I saw several videos.
Pedro
being
Infante.
Pedro Infante
one.
special. So
Right.
that's really neat. I was gonna ask how the pandemic affected your output, but you already answered that.
I did. I did. I think we learned a lot. I think we didn't stop.
Yes, I think a lot of us learned a lot.
We learned a lot. We didn't let it stop us. We were inspired to do more. We were inspired to do better. We learned resilience. We learned new techniques, and we overcame, and we came out the other side, and we're fine. I think we're absolutely fine. Some students still have challenges with catching up with their schoolwork in high school. I understand there's some, but I haven't seen that too much with the mariachis. I'm not sure about that level, middle school or high school. But yes, we went through it very well. And I'm really proud of all of the mariachis. I saw beautiful recordings out there from all the high schools and students just creating at home, the directors finding ways to get their products out there and their performances. So kudos to all of us.
Yeah. My next leading point is this. Despite our past pandemic, what would you say was your biggest adversity in your career? What a big moment that you had to overcome?
Okay, well, I think maybe the beginning of the mariachi, establishing it in a very classically oriented music department that was, some people were happy with the program and others were not so happy with the program. So it was a bit of a challenge to educate our campus community that this was a vital and a valid art form that deserved its respect, still deserves its respect. And I believe that was something that had to be earned. So I understood that. And throughout the years, I feel that we've done that. So I think that was a challenge. Resources at first, even though I mentioned Miguel Nevares was super supportive. There's always new kids, new trajes, new instruments, resources always needed. Again, the community has been supportive. Sometimes we get contributions that we don't even expect. I get a call, hey, we've contributed this much to the mariachi program. And I'm delighted. And I appreciate the community so much for their love and support because I feel it. And all of a sudden it may appear. I didn't even ask for it. So that is just a real fabulous thing. And I guess other challenges are that there's just Francisco and I trying to man this very big ship and steer this ship and needing help to do it. And hopefully that will be resolved soon and we'll get some help in that area.
Well, I think despite, your adversity, what you're saying and everything that you've overcome, I feel the program has done its job in just inspiring alone. One of my biggest adversities being in the group was juggling, going back and forth with my duties in the group, plus my own work in the College of Music. But I would always tell myself, if Dr. Guerra could do it, then so can I. So that's how you inspired me to do what I do. Oh, and I can tell you that, from the bottom of my heart. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you. And there are so many former students that, as I said, we're a family and I love you all. And I just look forward to seeing you as often as I can or just keep in touch, drop us a line and realize the impact that you're making and how you are paying it forward. Maybe I was a spark of inspiration, but now it's you all. And think of all the hundreds of students, hundreds, thousands perhaps, that are now have been inspired through you all, through mariachi. And it's all about, it sounds like a cliche, but creating a better world. And it's really the case that nothing has a bigger impact on a person than music and the ability to express oneself and to create. So I hope that continues with all of us. And I know that it will. And thank you so much for your kind words.
Of course. I think that wraps up for today. So thank you for joining us today, Dr. Gadwin. We look forward to seeing your concerts for Festiva and Nuestra Cultura.
If you could see me, I'm smiling. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Miguel. It's been a pleasure being here and hope to see everyone really soon in a week.
Thank you.
If not, we'll see you in April.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.